Have you heard about intermittent fasting? If so, have you tried it? So today we're going to give you our take on it and give you some guidance on how to know if it's right for you, and if so, how to get started. For the best wellness and weight loss information for women over 50, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when we post new videos. So chances are you've seen it all over the internet. There's a lot of information out there about intermittent fasting. And as nutritionists and research geeks, right, we have looked into it a lot over the past several years. So, however, as women over 50, and we're both in that age range, we don't approach things from the same way as we would have maybe 30 years ago. So there's a lot of information out there that is more geared towards the 20, 30-year-olds, but we want to give you our over 50 take on it.
All right, first we want to share just a few facts about intermittent fasting. So again, there's a lot of different definitions, and we'll start with just the fact of what is fasting? Well, fasting has been around for thousands and thousands of years before it became trendy. And basically, it was just the way people lived in hunter-gatherer times, because sometimes there just absolutely wasn't a lot of food to eat, and they had to go through periods of starvation, and then there'd be a big hunt, and then there'd be a lot of food around. So it was kind of a forced fasting state, maybe depending on the weather or the season or whatever. So as we've sort of gravitated into this new world, in the simplest terms, intermittent fasting basically involves alternating cycles of fasting and then eating. And here we're going to share with you just the basic fasting types or cycling types. So we have a 24-hour fast, which is usually done 1 or 2 days a week, an entire 24-hour cycle of no eating. Then there's time-restricted eating. Typically, what you've probably heard, which is the most common, is something called a 16-8, 16 hours of fasting and then eating in an 8-hour window. And then there's also another pretty common one, which is called the 5-2, which is 5 days of eating fairly normal diet, and then 2 days of very restricted low-calorie eating, not a fasting day, but maybe 500 or 600 calories. So for today's purposes, we're going to focus mostly on the 16-8 model. And we're going to start talking first about the health benefits. So what they've discovered is that when you go through periods of fasting, you have many different positive impacts on the body. There are reductions in blood sugar and insulin levels, an increase in human growth hormone, which now we know is very anti-aging. Many women and men, of course, experience weight loss. There's a decrease in overall body inflammation. It improves various risk factors. Again, everything from blood sugar, cholesterol levels, LDL, inflammation markers, etc. It can also help protect against diseases like type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, and many others. And it may improve life expectancy as well.
In addition, there's something called autophagy, and that is the process of clearing the waste out from in the cells. And research has shown this can happen with fasting. What we haven't been able to find in the research is exactly how long of fasting it takes until this autophagy happens. But we talk a lot about the health of the cells and really how a healthier cell leads to a healthier lifestyle, healthier body, more energy, better weight loss, and everything. So we really focus on the health of the cells. So the fact that it's possible to get into this autophagy state, it can be really beneficial to your body. So as you can see, there are clear benefits to intermittent fasting. So let us know in the comments, have you tried intermittent fasting? And if so, what has been your experience with it? With the health benefits, we have found that there's also some drawbacks and concerns that we have with intermittent fasting. So we're going to cover a few of those now, especially as it relates to our over 50 community. So one of the things that could happen is it could affect your sleep. Now, we have videos on sleep. We talk about it a lot. It is so important to health. So if you do intermittent fasting and find that it affects your sleep, it might not be right for you. Sleep is so important for regenerating the cells and just giving you energy. And also, we find that when people have less sleep, they have more cravings and tend to eat less healthy foods. So if sleep becomes an issue, it might not be right for you. Another thing is, in some people, it can cause such a stressful feeling in the body that your body releases cortisol, which can add to weight gain around the middle. So you're kind of defeating the purpose. And if you find that the stress is just too much for you, then it might not be right for you. And another thing we've seen is what's called rebound eating. So you're fasting for the 16 hours or whatever, and then you're so hungry and just starving that you're going to eat anything in sight. And sometimes this can cause an increase in cravings, and you tend to eat more than you would have eaten before, and you might eat more of unhealthy foods than you're eating before. So that's something to be concerned about.
So another drawback for some people when they're doing intermittent fasting is that they wind up eating a lot fewer nutrients than they did before this. Now, of course, reducing overall processed calories is fabulous, but if you're eating in a smaller window, you have to be extra conscientious about the foods that you are eating and making sure they're really nutrient dense so that you are getting in everything you need in that 8-hour window that you would potentially be getting nutrient wise when you're having a larger eating window. So one of our pet peeves with this is just for people who don't do it correctly is that it does compromise overall nutrition. So people are squeezing their eating into a smaller window, but not filling their basic nutrient needs. So they might even say, oh, I existed on just one meal a day or 2 small meals, but then they're missing out on their proteins, all their good vitamins and minerals and their healthy fats and their lean proteins, and they're just not nourishing their body the right way. So it also comes down to not only the window of time that you're eating, but also what are you eating during that time period? You have to structure it so that you're still getting good nourishment and meeting all your nutrition needs. If you're not doing that, then it can really mess up your metabolism. Your metabolic rate can go down too low. You're just not getting enough calories overall. And that, again, you don't want that to backfire. Sort of dovetailing with this is some people, when their calorie restriction gets too low, you can lose muscle tissue. That's going to completely, again, backfire on your weight loss efforts, because when you're diving into your muscle tissue, if that's where the weight loss is coming from, then you're influencing your calorie burning potential, because muscle cells is where we burn the most calories. So you have to make sure you're getting in enough protein and also, again, meeting the other needs. So it's not something to just walk into and say, I'm just going to have this 8-hour window and everything's going to be fine. It's more than that. You have to also look at what's going on within that 8-hour window and how you're structuring your meals. So the overall message is it can be amazing, totally beneficial, great. We've seen so many great results from it, but you have to listen to your body at the same time. And if you're feeling super cranky, if you're shaky, if you get headaches, and you just don't feel well during your 16-hour fast, that's not going to be beneficial for you if it's stressing you out. So you have to kind of try it, right? We're going to talk about that, but weigh the pros and cons for yourself.
So a great place to start, and we have seen so many women do really well with this, is just to start with a 12-hour fast. So after dinner, say that's it. I'm not eating until 12 hours until the following morning. And this is great in so many ways, not only for the fasting benefits and the health benefits of it, but when you have that mindset that you're not going to eat after dinner, that cuts out on all the evening snacking, which is such a problem for so many of the women we work with. So we do strongly suggest going the 12 hours, and then you can add on more hours and see how you feel. There's so much flexibility here. So you could do the 12 hours, 5 days a week, and then go longer for the 16-8, 2 days a week, and see how that works for you. Just experiment and see what happens. So if you want to do the 16-8 type of intermittent fasting, all you have to do is at 7 p.m., say you finish dinner, the kitchen closes, that's it. No more cabinet sneaking or opening the fridge. You do whatever you do the evening, go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you can have some water, and then you just go till 11 a.m. And 11 a.m., you can have breakfast, you can have a lunch, you can have a combination. As long as it's something healthy, there's your 16 hours right there. Most important is to find something that you can stick with long term and that does feel right in your body. And consider where you're starting from, because as Jane was saying, there's no amount of intermittent fasting that is going to undo poor eating habits. You can't go into this thinking, oh, well, I'll just eat whatever I want in those 8 hours and the 16 hours I'll just fast. So just want to be mindful of all these benefits and drawbacks that we were talking about.
And don't forget, you can start stretching slowly. If you start with a 12-hour fast, you can then move to 13, then you can move to 14 and kind of just see how your body feels. Also, you can have coffee and tea unsweetened with no milk or anything else added during that fasting time. So water, coffee, tea. Of course, mostly we'd like to see water, maybe some green tea, but a little coffee is fine too. Okay, so that wraps up our little take on intermittent fasting. We hope you got some good pearls out of that. If you want to really dive deep into making habit changes and you're looking to lose weight and keep it off, you're looking to ease inflammation, live your second half of life with energy and confidence, we have a few spots open in our Simply Nourished program. It's a 3-month transformational program for women in our age group. And if you're interested, we'll put a link in the description below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell for more information, and check out our next video, which is all about controlling appetite.